Instead, understand the base logic of frameworks. All frameworks do three things. First, I was just preparing for my next Thinking Framework cohort happening this month, and this one thing kept on popping up when I was going through all of your survey responses. Thank you for sending them, by the way, letting me know what you're stuck on and what you want to achieve. And that one thing was, a lot of us seem to want a way to search and remember all the frameworks out there. It seems to make sense on the surface, right? We learn that there's something called framework thinking, mental models, people are using them, and we find out and we say, okay, so how can I learn this? Let me get a list of 100 frameworks, right? And the answer is no. Think about it. When you have 100 frameworks, right, it's basically like sitting down with a textbook. What do? You're bored. You can't really retain the information because, we're reading this giant list of 100 frameworks. Maybe we're doing some highlighting. Maybe we're even taking some notes. But scientifically speaking, all of that is not enough for us to retain that information and be able to recall them. And even if with the ones that do manage to stick, how do we actually apply them, right? We know it in theory, but in real life, how do we translate it? And that's why I see so many responses that correspond to these subsequent problems. Right? I don't know when to use these frameworks, which one to use. It's also that I don't actually actively use them, even though I seem to know them. And also, when I'm put on the spot, I can't recall any of them, and I can't think that quickly. And a few of you were really courageous and candid, and you called it out. I feel stupid. Maybe I can't do this type of thinking. Maybe it's just not for me. And all of that is not true. You're not thinking in frameworks because you're doing it backwards and making it difficult for yourself. I've talked about this in multiple videos. Don't start with a list of frameworks. It will just overwhelm you. Instead, understand the base logic of frameworks. All frameworks do three things. First, they break down complexity. They simplify and have smaller chunks so we can work with the problem. Number two, they prioritize, right? Not all of the chunks are made the same, so you want to pick out the ones that are important for your use case. And number three, they structure in a way that makes things easy to understand. Let's think of your framework knowledge as a tree. If you have 100 frameworks, those are just leaves on the floor. Which one do I pick up? When do I use which? I don't know, because they're all scattered and there's no base logic to hang them all together to show how are they connected. But if we do it the other way, where we start with fat branches that are about those that simplify, those that prioritize, and those that structure, and then within that, we focus on the essential frameworks first. And then once we get those, then we start to add on more use cases, for different areas. We start to fill out our tree this way. Then everything will be connected. You have a web of ideas, and they will strengthen as you practice them, and you'll be more able to adapt them over time. It will improve recall. It will build confidence from day one because you're going from 0 to 1. You're not going from 0 to 100 in one leap. And there's no overwhelm because there's so much fundamentals. It's the same happening in management consulting. I won't go into the details, but we didn't start with a list of frameworks. It was on the job, practice as you go. And we all started with the first one, 80-20. Use that first before you get to experiment with others. We're going to do all of this foundation building in my cohort Thinking Frameworks. This time we're focusing specifically on clarifying and communicating your thoughts. I've curated the frameworks. We are going to walk through that base logic, and then we are going to immediately from day one practice. So you can get that win, so you can build that confidence, so you can see how you can use frameworks in real life situations. In the end, you'll know when to apply which framework when you clarify and communicate your thoughts. You're going to be able to do them when you're on the spot. We're going to be practicing that a lot. And then in the end, you don't need all that 100 frameworks, but you know how to build up to those. I've even got a GPT build for that. So if you're interested, check out the links and details below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.